Hi, my name is Phil Burns. I'm the founder and CEO of Growthworx. We're a revenue consultancy for SaaS businesses, and we've been doing this for about 15 years now. On today's video, what I want to do is take you through the three-step framework that we use when we work with ambitious, growing SaaS companies to take them from where they are to where they need to be and help them supercharge their revenue engine. We call the system RevenueMAX. I'm going to get straight to it if that's okay. It's basically 3 steps. So M is for marketing, which is effectively answering the question of how do we build pipeline? How do we build consistent pipeline? How do we build quality pipeline? And how do we do it in a way that is consistent with the values of our business, that is in line with the audience that we serve? And how do we do it so we can automate as much as possible and we can systematize as much as possible? So I'll go through that first. The next thing that we do is the acquisition piece. So this is actually moving from the leads phase, which is what we do in marketing, into how do we actually close those deals? So what is the sales motions we need to have in place to take those leads and to win the right deals at the right time in the right way for the right price point? So that's what we cover in A for acquisition. And then finally X, which is all about the customer experience. How do we take a customer we've just won? How do we give them amazing value? How do we keep them happy? And then how do we retain them? How do we build value in that customer base? And then finally, how do we use all those elements combined to build true enterprise value within your company? So that's what we're going to cover. Let's deep dive a little bit into each of those 3 elements. So first phase is M, marketing. We do this with every single client we work with. We always start off and do MAX, and we always look at marketing. And marketing is effectively 3 sub areas. We've got the targeting piece, which is all around who do we target? Why do we target them? What makes us different? Where do we sit in the market? How do we position ourselves when we go to market? Really, really deep diving into who we target and why we target them is fundamental, and we find that most startups have a relatively good grasp of who they think they should be targeting, but think of this more in terms of the absolute narrowest of ICP as a starting point to build out from. So it might be we're targeting HR teams. But what we mean by HR teams in terms of narrowing it is getting it down to, okay, so what size of company? Is this the SME market, the SMB market, or is this the enterprise market? Or are we even targeting very early stage startups and micro businesses? So are we in a particular geographic area? Are we targeting a particular industry or niche? And even then, within an industry, within an employee size, within a geographical area, is there a list of 10, 50, 100 accounts that we would love to win, where we can do some more targeted ABM, account-based marketing work, alongside the more generic and broad outreach that we might do? So there's lots and lots of ways of thinking about who we might target, and there's lots and lots of ways of thinking about how we might ramp up and move through from general to narrow and then back out to general during the first 2 to 3 years. That is effectively what we mean by targeting. Pipeline is going out to our prospects and having conversations with a view to booking meetings, with a view to generating new deals and revenue. Pipeline is a huge part of what we do. It's something that I have a particular background in. I've been in lead generation and marketing for the past 20 years. I know how to generate various different types of pipeline. And there are kind of 5 motions we talk about here: outbound, inbound, hybrid, re-engagement, and partnerships. Not every one of these is relevant to every single company that we work with, but we typically explore all 5 during this process. And we typically lead with outbound and inbound because they're the ones that are going to generate as the leads in the fastest possible time. So this is all about filling the pipeline with quality leads. It's all about moving those leads through the pipeline using funnels and landing pages and automations that we fire, email automations, text message automations, to give the prospect more information, to qualify them more deeply. That's what we do during this pipeline phase. And it really is a system. It's a way of thinking and an infrastructural way of planning to make sure we take people from where they are, typically not knowing us, through to knowing us, liking us, trusting us, and then buying from us. This is a huge part of the M phase. The third part of the M phase is the infrastructure. So again, we find lots of companies are exploring different software tools and different processes, different frameworks to go about generating leads and generating interest. But there is some really, really simple and quick wins, such as setting up the right CRM and the right tech stack that underpins that, particularly in 2026 using AI to manage and to automate lots of the workflows through the different systems. That is super, super key. And the reason we do that and focus so much on that during this first phase is it's a massive time saver. Getting these automations working and flowing. So we've got outreach happening on automatic pilot, we've got appointment setting on autopilot, and we've got meetings being booked on autopilot. This is not to say that there's a massive human element to this lead generation piece, but from what we've experienced for the vast majority of SaaS businesses today, this should be a highly automated process. This M space should be as automated as we possibly get it. So that's what we do during M and marketing. Now, we don't move on to the next phase until that's sorted. How long does it take? Anything from 4 weeks to 12 weeks. It depends on where you are in the market, what traction you already have, whether you've got that product market fit, whether you've got that really clear targeting, whether you've already built some form of pipeline. And obviously the budget you've got available will heavily indicate the speed at which we can build the pipeline and build up this first phase. But I hope that makes sense for phase one. Phase two is acquisition. Acquisition is about taking the leads that we generate during the first phase and converting them into revenue. This system is a time-proven system. We've been doing this for over 10 years now. Yes, it's adapted. Yes, it's evolved. That is very natural in the modern world. But fundamentally, we have this proven model for converting SaaS inquiries into SaaS revenue. It's a repeatable process. It starts with what we call a discovery mindset and a discovery system. Having a discovery mindset means we go into every conversation looking to qualify out prospects rather than qualify them in. Now, this process actually starts during the M phase, the marketing phase, with the education, with the lead nurture, with all the automations we set up. What we're trying to do is when we get prospects on the call, on that first demo or exploratory discovery call, they're already either ready to buy, almost ready to buy, or have a deep understanding of what we do and feel like we could be a really, really good potential fit. But then what we do is apply the discovery framework, which is a structured framework designed to guide a conversation in a way that doesn't make it feel like we're selling to the prospect. It makes us feel like we are digging for gold together. It's a relatively well-trodden path, but most companies we work with just don't follow this methodology. The idea is to ask questions slowly, steadily, carefully to help the buyer understand whether they're a good fit for our solution. We also work through the commercials with them, the ROI of what we do, so they can almost prove to themselves before we even ask the question, do you want to buy, that they already know that this is the right product or service for them. It is a framework we put in place. It is part of a wider playbook, which brings us on to the second part, which is the playbook. The sales process, as you'll probably know, starts very early. It can start in some cases 6, 12, 18 months ahead of that initial call. We need to start educating and nurturing our prospects as early as possible, using all the classic tools of content, thought leadership, and then later on ads, outbounds, all to educate them and make them feel that we understand their pain points and that we're ready to offer a solution that works. We need to document this entire playbook. This is not something that most companies we work with do. They wait far too long to document the playbook. Now, we have a ready-made sales playbook, everything from scripts to objection handling to how we get people right the way through each of the calls, discovery call, sales call, closing call. This is about making sure the process is scalable, repeatable. And the reason we do this is because we can't have the founder, you guys, doing the selling for much longer. We've got to get you, the founder, away from selling, not because you don't know the most about the product and not because we absolutely need you there for the first year, but we can't scale past you if you're a one-man band, a one-man seller. So we have to document this process, which brings us on to the third element, hiring. We've got to start implementing a sales system that powers a sales team. So the playbook and the hiring system means that we are hiring the right person at the right time. We're then onboarding them and training them to follow our playbook. We don't want people making things up on calls. We don't want them deviating from scripts. We don't want loose cannons on our sales team. We want A-team players. Think of this as Moneyball. This is about getting the right people in the right place at the right time. We need to make sure they've got the right intelligence, emotional intelligence, motivation, and attitude. We need to document the hiring process. Then we need to make sure as a team we are hiring slow and firing fast, because we've set very clear KPIs on what we want from the team. Final point on team, typically we're starting with appointment setters or SDRs to come in, because the leads that we are generating, we want to build up that SDR team to book more and more appointments. Once the founder is inundated with sales calls, we then start to bring in an AE, an account executive, to work alongside the founder, train with the founder, follow all the founder's best practices and the playbook we've created, and the AE will slowly take over from the founder. Now, the faster the AE takes over, the faster we can scale the M phase, the marketing phase, which is why we have to get the marketing phase, then the acquisition phase up and running, working perfectly. We have to move that founder slowly out of the sales role during the first 6 to 12 months to allow us to scale a team. And then we're fully in. We're SDRs, we're BDRs, we're AEs. We are driving growth forward. This is a system we have done in over 20 companies over the last 5 years. We know it works. We know it's the right way to build SaaS companies. The final part of our system is X, which is experience. This is about retaining and expanding customers to avoid churn. This is about maximizing revenue potential, and this is about creating extended lifetime value, LTV, for your clients, your relationships. You know why this is important. Your investors will know why this is important. The lower the churn, the higher the retention, the more valuable the business is. So that is our key goal during this phase. We need to make sure we are onboarding clients correctly. We have a clear onboarding framework. We then take that framework and apply it to the hiring process. It means we get really good customer success people. We then KPI those customer success people. And we KPI them on things that are outcome based: customer health, customer testimonials, customer retention, revenue retention, the things that actually make our business better, bigger, stronger, and more valuable. This is all about getting those customers onboarded, delivering value, and then we can start thinking about expanding. How do we get more revenue from our customers? How do we give them more value? How do we expand our offer to make sure we are retaining them, strengthening, deepening the relationship for the long term? Which brings us on to forecasting and finance. Now, the CRO typically isn't doing the specific forecasting. That's for a CFO. So first job is we need to typically hire a fractional CFO to work alongside us as we build out these forecast models. This is essential for venture-backed and private equity-backed companies. This is something we need to start as early as possible. We need to be thinking about how we get our accounts in order, but more importantly, how we measure and track all the metrics of the business: NRR, ARR, CAC, LTV. The faster we get these down and we can document them on a monthly, quarterly, and annual basis, the faster we can track what the company is actually doing as we scale. The reason this bit is so important, and the reason that the CRO, our team, has to get involved, is because this demonstrates to investors and to potential acquirers what the value of the business is. What most acquirers are looking for are these metrics. How long do we keep a customer? How much revenue? What's the risk profile of your customers? These are the things we need to start thinking about as we build and scale out during that first 12 months. Not because we're looking to sell in these first 12 months, but because we're looking to put the best practices in place today from the start, so we've got that data as early as possible. If we wait, we've lost a year, and therefore we've lost a year towards our exit plan. Which brings us on to enterprise value, the final bit of the puzzle. And this is the bit where typically when we come in as CRO consultants, we're only just touching upon, we're just laying the early foundations for creating this enterprise value. And effectively, this is us as a consultancy team working with you, the founding team, to make sure that all the elements of our MAX system are in place and that you understand them. You can convey them. You can explain every single element of what we've done. This is largely about coaching the founding team about how to take over from us, from the CRO team. This is also about transferring from the fractional CRO team to a full-time CRO, typically a full-time sales director, and maybe even a full-time marketing lead. This is about creating a team underneath the founding team that can run this business. Why? Because that's what acquirers want to see. They do not want to see that everything is in the founder's head. They do not want to see that the founder is still doing sales or marketing operations or even customer success. They want to see that you've got 5 or 6 heads underneath the founder who are doing 90 to 95% of the day-to-day operations of the business. That's how you build enterprise value, by following our entire process and then demonstrating that you as a founder are not working operationally on the business. You are above. You are looking down the business, pulling the strings, moving the needles. At that point, you've got a decision to make. You can then think about a potential exit if that's the plan you've got. If you want to sell, you're in a place then to say, hey, this is a very de-risked opportunity for you, Mr. Acquirer, because I can step out and the business will run. We've got all our forecasting in place. We've got great retention. Our sales process is dialed in. Our revenue generation process, our marketing is dialed in. You can take this business, Mr. Acquirer, and 5, 10, 20x this by injecting cash into the system. And that is fundamentally what we're doing. Now, not every founder wants to sell. Some founders will want to build, generate revenue, and generate a great lifestyle for themselves. That's absolutely fine. All that means is we approach this process in a slightly different way. We're probably working slightly closer towards the founder's goals, whether it's to hand it over to a family member or a friend at some point down the line, or just wrap it up at some point close to retirement. That's not a problem. We can work around your goals and your ambitions, but typically building enterprise value benefits you in whatever situation you find yourself in 3, 5, 7 years from now. So that is the MAX system. That is what we implement when we come in as a CRO team into your business. If there's anything else I can do, if there's any questions you've got, I'd be delighted to have a conversation. Please follow us, please like, please share this video. Thank you very much for your time. This was Phil Burse, CEO and founder of Growthworx, and this was an introduction to our RevenueMAX system that builds SaaS revenue engines. Thanks very much.